Hey guys, this is Melissa Druskis. I'm a board certified behavior analyst with ABC Behavior Training, and today I'm going to go over my 5th edition monthly experience hours tracker, which is going to be a part of meeting the BACB requirements for having a unique tracking system. Alright, so just to get started, we'll come back to this screen so you can see it when there's more stuff added into it, but this is the hours dashboard. This is locked. You are not going to be able to edit it. It's password protected, so just know that going in. This and a lot of the other areas on these other tabs, aside from where you're entering in data, is going to be locked. So up here, you can actually enter in your previous hours, so start, end date, what type of fieldwork experience it is. You can put your previous hours just all lumped together so they can add to your total hours over here. But then otherwise, all of this information is going to pull from the monthly tabs, and it's going to fill in all of this for you. Over here we have a summary that is going to show you your total hours, your total restricted hours, and the percentage of restricted hours. Now for the 5th edition task list, this must be 40% or less over the entire experience. If this number is higher at the beginning, that's totally fine. Just be aware of it as you get nearer the end of your supervision experience. In this main section over here, there will also be colors that pop up if there's errors. So it will turn yellow if there is more than 130 hours or less than 20 hours per month. Orange if your group supervision is more than 50% of your total supervision. It will turn blue if there is less than 1 client observation. Purple if there is less than 4 supervision contacts or 6 supervision contacts for concentrated fieldwork, and it will turn red if you do not have enough supervision, which that percentage depends on if you have just the regular supervised independent fieldwork or if you're in the concentrated fieldwork section. And then down here you have some graphs that will show you your total hours, your restricted hours, and then a percentage of your utilization of hours. This graph here is only for your purposes. This is not something that the BACB requires, so you'll just be checking boxes as you're doing different tasks, and you can see what you're spending most of your time on. All right, let's take a look at one of the monthly tabs. Now, a key thing to note here, do not change the names of these tabs. They have to stay month 1, month 2, and so forth. If you change the names of the tabs, the formulas are not going to work and the information will not get pulled to this page. So there are some red boxes up here that let you know you need to put some information in there, so we're going to fill that out. The start date is always either when you are starting supervision, just at the beginning. After that, it's always the first day of the month and then the last day of the month. And then you'll also need to select what type of fieldwork experience you're having. For supervised independent fieldwork, that's the 4 supervision contacts and 5% supervision, and you'll need to have 2,000 hours for this one. For the concentrated supervised fieldwork, that is 1,500 hours of supervised fieldwork experience. And for that, you're going to need 6 supervision contacts per month and 10% supervision. So make sure that you are selecting the right one here. If you have a combined experience where you're doing some of one and some of the other in each month, I would recommend that you actually keep 2 of these files. Name one for one supervisor, one for another supervisor. But even if you have multiple supervisors, if it's all the same category, you can just keep everything in one form. So I'm going to first select supervised fieldwork. And then here you're going to go ahead and put in the date, the start and end time of whatever it is that you're doing. Make sure to put the time, space, AM or PM. If you don't do that, it's not going to register it as time. If you're doing something overnight and you move from one day to the next all in one setting, make sure that you end this at 11:59 a.m. and then you just create another one for the next day. Again, it would mess up the formulas to calculate the amount of time that you're spending. Then you're going to go ahead and put in whatever your setting is. And then your supervisor, you can put client abbreviations. And then this, you're just going to put X's in here. You can choose more than one thing. It's really, just based off of whatever you're doing, and so you can keep track of what you're spending your time on. Again, the BACB does not need this information. It's just an extra thing to let you see more information. So we can just call this restricted. And then activity type. Unrestricted, restricted, which is direct supervision, direct therapy. And then we have supervision of restricted activities, supervision of unrestricted activities, and then group supervision. If you are not sure what your task falls under, right over here, this is copied directly from the experience standards. It tells you what is restricted, unrestricted, and what's unacceptable. So please work with your supervisor to help solidify what this is, but this just gives you the information that's in the experience standards to start off with. Basically, restricted activities is any time you are doing therapy with a client. Unrestricted is most other things that would be considered work that's done by a BCBA or BCABA. So for this one, I'm going to choose restricted. This is staying grayed out because it's not supervision. And then here you can put some information of what you're doing with your client. Just, some brief information, and your supervisor will provide more guidance of what it is that they're looking for there. I'm going to go ahead and put in a little bit more data so we can see how this populates on the hours dashboard. All right, so I've added some data into the monthly form. This is just a few days worth of data, but just so you can see the different things that I've selected. So putting the start and end time, settings, supervisors, different clients, the activities that you did. Do not forget, if you speak to parents at the end of your sessions, to include that in there as unrestricted hours. Even if it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes, that definitely will add up throughout your supervision experience. Now, I did make one error on here on purpose, just to show you what happens. If your hours are not adding up correctly, go back and make sure that you didn't put the time in like this. It's really easy to miss the space bar when you're doing it. So if you do 10 a.m. with no space between the time and the a.m. p.m., it is not going to calculate your hours, and it's going to give you an error. So all you have to do is go in there and fix it, and then your hours are calculated. Now, since this is just for a few days of work, when we go over to the hours dashboard, there are going to be some errors popping up, but that's totally fine because you're not at the end of your month yet. So it's yellow over here because we have less than 20 hours, blue for less than 1 client observation, and purple for less than 4 supervision contacts. So as you go through your month and you fill these up, then those will go away. And again, supervision right now is good because there were 2 instances of supervision and only a couple of days, so that's really high. But there are instances where, if it's less than 5% for the supervised field work or less than 10% for the concentrated field work, that will turn red as well. And then over here we can see the graphs for our dashboard. Again, super small because we just have 1 day in there, but that blue line right there is also, that's the graph that will start going up and up, so you can track your total hours, restricted hours, and then this will just adjust every month that you add stuff in there to see what it is that you're spending your time with. All right, and then as you go through the months, you just continue filling this up, and it will give you the information that you need. You can also, as you're filling out the BACB tracker, which is also required. I know it seems a little redundant, but you do need a unique tracker, and also to complete the BACB tracker in case of an audit, you can copy this information over and paste it into the other tracker. Alright, and before we end this review for today, I just wanted to give you a view of what it looks like when it's a little bit more completed. One thing that I misspoke earlier is that this would turn blue if you have less than 1 client observation. That is correct, however, the cell was turning blue, so I have fixed that. So this will only highlight as an error if you have 0 client observations, and then of course you could not count your hours for that month. So yes, 1 client observation is perfectly fine, or more. So just to give you a view of what this looks like, we have all of the months here. First 4 months are supervised field work. So for that, the client, the supervision contacts required are 4 with 5% supervision. And then let's say you switch to concentrated supervised field work and you didn't quite have enough supervision or supervision contacts, so you have an error here because it's not 6, and you have an error here because you need to have 10% supervision when you switch to concentrated supervised field work. If something like this happens, you would need to go into the tab for this month and start deleting your unrestricted and restricted independent hours, whichever. You need to start deleting that until this is no longer red, until you do actually meet that requirement. Now, if you don't have the necessary client observations or the necessary supervision contacts, then you just would not be able to count supervision for that month. But if your supervision percentage is not correct or too low, you can just delete some of the hours that you are claiming for that month. You can't actually claim all the hours that you did because you weren't supervised for all of them. And then as you can see, as it starts filling out here, you get a nice summary of seeing where you're currently at, and then some graphs to see where you're at in, towards your goal of either 1,500 or 2,000 hours. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys to move along through your supervision experience. If you have any questions or issues with this form, please don't hesitate to contact me. Again, my name is Melissa Druskis, and you can find my contact information on my website, and that is below in the comments. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my website to stay up to date on new products and topics that I cover. Thank you.